quality teaching model has stood the test of time.
It's still relevant 20 years later.
I think it has had a continued resonance with teachers and in education because it respects what teachers already know and do, but it builds on that and it supports them.
This 20-year celebration is a great opportunity to recognise this powerful idea, powerful model that is changing teachers and therefore students' lives.
The model has three big ideas or three key dimensions. Intellectual quality, which is about making sure that students are engaging with important ideas. Quality learning environment, which is about making sure that classrooms are really positive places that support student learning. And significance, which is all about making learning meaningful in terms of students' own lives and the wider world.
It's a fairly simple, direct question. How do you know what's going on in the kids' learning and their experience? How do you know when it's any good? The idea behind the model is that you make those judgments based on what is a large body and a large history of research knowledge.
While there was views about good teaching in maths or science in primary or in secondary, what sort of struck me was that as a system, we couldn't talk about what good teaching looked like. There wasn't a common language. There wasn't a framework that you could use and have conversations, whole school conversations and the like.
What we did primarily was to look at the research on practices that make a difference for student outcomes.
We spent many hours locked in a room working out what the elements of the model would be and how we would describe them, and then developing the various classroom and assessment practice guides.
It's evidence-based and it's practical. It's all things that you do within your day-to-day teaching, and I think it helps you identify maybe some areas that you need to work on a little bit further.
We were trying to think of how do we take this great model and find ways that make it easy for teachers to work with it. And so Quality Teaching Rounds was born.
I've seen the effectiveness of the program, and I think if I can bring that in here and support our staff with quality teaching practice, then it'll help with our engagement of our kids, and the end game being better academic results, better outcomes for our kids, better outcomes for the community.
Quality Teaching Rounds works for everybody, no matter if you're first year out or you've been a teacher for 10 or 20 years, because we're all still learning. The longer you're a teacher, the longer you realise that there's so much you still need to learn about the art of being a teacher.
I think the thing that sets QTR apart is it really honours teachers and teaching. It honours the complexity of teaching and what it takes to actually be a good teacher, to improve every year and ensure that your students are improving every year as well.
There is so many variables happening at the same time in a classroom that it is actually very hard to predict what's going to happen. The quality teaching model understands that.
There's been a lot of courage shown right from the New South Wales Department of Education back when this idea was being put forward that we need a model of pedagogy. Right to the current Paul Ramsey coming forward and saying, how do we take this to scale?
The possibilities there are quite a few with a model that's kind of as universal as this one. So we're particularly interested at the foundation in the way in which it can provide a platform for conversation and improvement in teaching in the most disadvantaged communities in Australia.
I really love the fact that it helps teachers to feel good about their practice. It builds their confidence, it builds their morale, and it actually builds their relationships with each other.
QT model really resonates with teachers, and it honours the complexity of their work. When it's combined with a really powerful professional development process like Quality Teaching Rounds, it just has real impact and we see real change.
Most importantly, we now have evidence from 3 different studies that it makes a difference for student achievement, and that's what this is all about in the end.
I did not expect it to last as long as it did, but a lot of the categories are still true, right? So they're probably all still true.
The quality teaching model, I think, is really poised to make a difference at a greater scale. It certainly can expand across Australia, and we're getting interest from people around the world, so exciting times ahead.